What a day, what a day, what a day in the markets, family. First of all, I got a haircut and all that, but besides all that, I know y'all was gonna say that in the chat, but today was a day, man. Did not record. Actually, I did record, but the footage that I recorded this morning from today's session did not work out as I thought it did. For some reason, it ended up corrupting itself, and who cares about all that. But I do want to talk to you guys about today's day, because today was a day to say the least. We ended up starting off the day with a loss, then a couple little losses in between that, but ultimately ended up finishing the day with a big win that has now got me in profit, $500. So as you can see, we are up $500 on the futures account. I'm excited for that because what I'm gonna start doing moving forward, y'all, is I'm not gonna try to pass this right away. Again, I told y'all I didn't want to do that, and I still don't want to do that because that's gonna make me probably end up blowing the account because you're not really giving that much wiggle room with these prop firms. So if I can aim to make $300 to $500 every single day, that's fine with me. Right, we got to make $3,000 on this account. So realistically, I could probably pass this challenge if I stay disciplined enough to only target $300 to $500 every single day. We could pass it in 5 days. We could pass it in 10 days. But either way, we could pass it within the next week, week and a half. And I'm fine with that. I want to really try to be as disciplined as possible. I want to be showing you guys the right way to do things instead of trying to just rush through it and pass it right away. So this is going to be the way that I'm going to be doing it. $300 to $500, anywhere within there. I'm cutting it done, and that's going to be it. And I'll be happy with that, and I'll come back the next day and try to rinse and repeat that. We do have to figure out or monitor our risk while we do this. Because if we're risking $500 and we're only making $300, that's a negative R to R, and that is just not going to work out in my favor. So if we can get to a point where we're only risking, say, $200, $300 a trade, and some of the trades be a 1-on-1, if they go for 500, a 2.25 to 1, then I'm fine with that. I really want to stick around a 2 to 1 risk reward if possible. So risking 200 to go for 500 is traditionally probably going to be the way I'm going to try to approach it. But I'm not going to hesitate to actually close out at 300 if the market starts to show some hesitation towards, where we're headed. So that's going to be my approach moving forward. Not going to be playing around with this. We're going to be taking this shit serious. Going to be disciplined, follow real risk management rules, and just show you guys, man, that you can still pass it without rushing, but still, do your thing and do what you gotta do. So I'm excited for that. Now let me go ahead and show you guys overall the actual trades. You can see them right here. Started off the day with a negative $300 loss, which isn't too bad, but it definitely sucked because I really liked that setup. It was trading the NASDAQ itself, but we ended up continuing to trade, took a couple more stabs at the NASDAQ, realized that the NASDAQ was not my friend today. Ended up identifying something interesting while looking at the NASDAQ, the S&P, and US 30. As you guys can see, today was just a super choppy day. Look at all this. Look at all this. Look at all this chop. Like the entire day was so choppy across all assets, at least all indices. Gold seen an increase to the upside. Gold was looking pretty good. We probably could have just looked for some longs on gold. It didn't work out in that favor, and it happened. So we did end up, again, taking the opportunity here on US 30. We ended up catching a long position down here at the lows, stops below the low, ended up targeting literally back up to this structure point right here. And this is where we essentially got out of that trade that essentially made us $1,100 that got us up $500 for today. Now, the reason why I ended up taking this position was because if we look at price action itself, we had news today and price absolutely dumped pretty hard for US 30. The NASDAQ, on the other hand, when news came out, this was actually spiking to the upside. The S&P also, news came out, it played around for a little bit, but then eventually started spiking to the upside. So I noticed a divergence amongst indices. I already took a couple attempts on the NASDAQ and they just did not work out, and I was looking for some decent moves. It just didn't play out. But I realized that, man, this thing is just gonna stay strong. Okay, so the NASDAQ is bullish. The S&P eventually ended up gaining some strength and going bullish. US 30 though was already selling off. I'm like, there has to be a divergence or one of these assets is lying, and I believe it was US 30. So I'm okay. Now we see the NASDAQ still pushing. Let me just wait for US 30 to show signs of possible strength to the upside. Because again, the NASDAQ was already up. The S&P itself didn't really do much. It didn't go far. It didn't it didn't do much at all after news. Like, we had to spike up, spike down, and that's really it. So once I seen this start to gain strength as well, with the NASDAQ already being strong, I'm like, okay, US 30 is probably going to follow suit with his brothers and eventually see this move back to the upside. And that's exactly what happened. We ended up literally taking this position down here when the market started to show signs of strength here on this 1 minute time frame. I ended up entering this position on the close of this 1 minute candle, this super confirming 1 minute candle right here. We had the little 1 minute engulfing, but then we had the second candle as well that also was super strong. So we ended up taking the buy there on the close of that. Stops were below the low, and then this thing just starts to absolutely take off. We ended up capturing around 200 points to the upside on US 30, and that's essentially how we ended up making that $1,100 to get us up $500 for the day, which is what the goal is going to be moving forward. I'm gonna be honest, the goal wasn't $300 to $500 to start today, but I'm making that adjustment, and I have to be disciplined, and I have to figure out exactly what I'm gonna be targeting each day. So overall, beautiful setup, guys, man. I can't complain about it. It is what it is. You know, the losses definitely sucked, especially after yesterday's day, which was a freaking roller coaster. Ended up losing 1,000, but then we ended up making $1,000 back before the end of the day. And then today, starting off with more couple losses, ended up losing around almost $500, $600 worth, to eventually realizing that the NASDAQ just wasn't going to give us that play we looked for, identified a divergence amongst indices, and we ended up capturing US 30, YM, and now we're sitting up $500 for the day. So not the best trading day, not upset about how I traded, but I'm also not excited about it. It is what it is, and we just gotta take those days and take these days for what they are, man. This is the reality of day trading. Day trading is one of the hardest skills to learn. It's one of the hardest ways to make money, no matter who tells you what. It is a very difficult thing to do, to make money consistently in this market. So if you're able to even come out somewhat profitable for the day, you got to take for what it is. You could be upset for how your performance was, but still be grateful that you were able to still make some money for the day. And that's where I'm at. I'm excited. I'm grateful that I was able to still make $500 for the day, end the day at least up 500, and now we're just going to continue to build on this and see what we can get. Now tomorrow is going to be Friday. We have NFP tomorrow and the unemployment rate. So tomorrow is going to be an absolute banger of a day as well. I don't like trading the actual news releases themselves. I think that's kind of, I don't want to say gambling. If you really understand how to front run news, and that's a skill in itself. I like to trade the reactions, right? So once news comes out, let the whiplash happen, identify if there was any major levels of liquidity that were captured, or if there was levels of liquidity that were left behind that we can go ahead and now start. So that's what I'm going to be doing for tomorrow. I'm excited about that. See what we can get. But overall, man, interesting week to say the least. Interesting week to say the least. And I also want to show you guys this as well, which I think is pretty interesting when you actually look at the analytics of today. Because if you look at today, obviously we're in profit, $541. We had a win percentage of 28%. That's absolutely insane. But yet our average win to reward, our average win to average loss is at a 4.63. This is crazy. When we talk about risk to reward and the importance of it, this is exactly what we're referring to. Only won 28.5% of our trades today. We lost 5, we won 2 of them. But those 2 wins were on average $588 compared to our losses were only 127. So we were literally able to win. Our wins were 4 times our loss, and that's how we were still able to come out the day net positive. So very interesting stuff when you actually think about it, man. Very, very interesting. Now, if we look at all the stats, this is going to be all our stats completely on the account. Again, we're only up $545, 40% win rate, which isn't, it could be a lot better. I'm typically around 50 to 60%. We're at a 1.89 risk to reward, average win to average loss ratio, which again is still really good. I typically like to stay around a 2 if possible. And profit factor at a 1.26. But yeah, our balance is growing, and that's what we want to see. We want to see our balance actually continue to grow. And then there's more stats obviously that you can go into. This is one thing that I really like about this platform, and honestly even Top Step has the same thing, where they have these statistics that you can look at and really see how your trades are and how you're doing for the overall week. We look at the actual profit calendar, monthly profit loss calendar. Obviously yesterday, break even day. Today, $500 day. And now we want to just continue to build this up. Again, if we can have a $500 day every single day, obviously we're going to eventually have some losses as well, some days that are just losing days. But if we can have, $500 days consistently, then yeah, by next week we could pass this challenge and then get to the funded account and then start doing what we got to do.